Morning. Welcome once again to Zen Minded Men. We're your host. I'm Sensei Art Gulley.
Good morning. I'm Sensei Vince Ellis. We're fortunate today to have with us Sensei Mike Branch, who is going to bring a very unique perspective to what martial arts has brought, and what he has brought through martial arts to his vocation, which is very unique to most people in the United States. I'd say there's a very small percentage of the people who actually do what Sensei Branch does for a living. He's a full-time equestrian. Mike trains and teaches horses and riders. So with that, I'd like to introduce Sensei Mike Branch. Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much, Sensei Ellis. Thank you, Sensei Gulley. Appreciate you guys having me on this morning.
Sensei, I guess Sensei Branch and I met for the first time at a Hall of Fame banquet several years ago. And, just really, really gentle personality, easy to talk to. I remember us having some conversations that night, finding out, a little bit about him and his background in horsemanship. And I've been fortunate enough to be around horses. I don't consider myself an expert by any means. It's always just been something that has been on the farm. So I've logged some saddle time and I've put some miles in on the back of a horse. But, reading some of your articles and, things like that, it is very interesting to me. I guess some of the stuff that I never had any formal training, but, you do. I'm going to let you go into the details, sir. But, at some point, it's a different type of feeling to be mounted or to be riding something or being transported by a living creature. When you realize you have this animal beneath you that is so big and so powerful, and you're really giving up your will to that animal in a sense, it can be intimidating, but at the same time, you do have to sort of relax, because I've always known that the horse and the rider do share an energy. They're very in tune to your I don't even know a good word for it, and I'm sure
Spirit.
explain better. But if you're nervous, the horse is nervous. If you're calm, the horse is calm. If you're anxious, the horse is anxious. And they're smart, man. A horse is a smart animal, and they will try you. There's always this back and forth between who's the boss. If you're not a partnership, we like I said, we pleasure riders, and we have horses, and it's just not where we've ever tried to team up with a horse per se, but they get to know you and you get to know them, and it's an interesting thing. And with that, Sensei Branch, I'm gonna turn it over to you and let you give us a little bit about your story, sir. Maybe start with some of your martial arts training and then lead us into your profession and how the two have intertwined.
Sure. It's kind of a long story because so much of it never really happened on purpose. Grew up in a military family, so we moved constantly from the time I was born up until I was adult age. I counted up one day by the time that I got my high school diploma, I had attended 14 different schools. So, your life is pretty much unsettled. But with that, and growing up, I hated that because you're all the time the new kid, and with guys, you're all the time having to prove yourself. It's like there's a stallion at every school that you go to. Somebody's the stallion there, and it's much like the bully on the Christmas Story, if you guys have ever watched that. And how Barkus or whatever his name was always waiting for him. You had those kind of things to deal with growing up. And I did, I was certainly no exception to the rule. And I always wanted horses, but never really had them in my life. Sometimes we lived places where we had little playmates or whatever that had a pony or whatnot, and they'd bring it over to the house, or I'd go over to their house and we would ride. And I remember one time in Minot, North Dakota, some of my friends that had horses, they had this one little pony that if you scooted far enough back on him into the lumbar area, that horse would start bucking, you know. And now in my education today, I realized the horse probably had a pretty bad back. But as a kid, you know, we didn't know that. All we knew is, hey man, that horse will buck if you move back further. So we would move back, you know, because we thought it was fun. So, you know, it doesn't hurt when you're 12 years old to get bucked off of a horse. Uh, um, so through that, through most of the time having to live in town, I had a great interest in physical fitness. 1978, there was a martial arts school in the town that we were living in there, Greenville, Mississippi. That was the Greenville Dojo, was the Ishinryu Karate Club. They had two karate schools there in Greenville at the time. One was the Shotokan school that was being taught at the YMCA. And then there was the Ishinryu Club that was taught at Ward Recreation Center, where a lot of really great martial arts that we have out there today were influenced from that school. Sensei Hathaway in Indianapolis being one of them, and some others. There, hopefully, their names will come to me here in just a little bit. I know them. It's funny how we draw blanks when we get to talking like this. So I started at the Ishinryu School in 1978 there under Sensei Larry Dreer, who just recently passed away. He was a student of Bill Pogue's, who was down in Louisiana, Grandmaster Pogue. I was asked by a friend of mine whenever I first thought I'd go down and check the school out. He's like, Mikey, you really need to visit both schools before you sign up for one. Look at the Ishinryu class and go over to the Shotokan class and look at that one too. And I went to the Ishinryu school and just observed a class one night, and I'm like, man, this is it. This is where I want to be. And I never looked at the other school. I signed up there under Sensei Dreer, and you know, never really looked back. Although time and circumstances moved me away from Greenville, Mississippi, and there was a period of years that there was not a dojo close by, but then as soon as I found one, I began working out again. And you know, the vicissitudes of life kind of seem to interrupt those things sometimes. So then eventually I was able to get a place out in the country with some acreage, and horses came into our life, and which is a story all in itself that we'd probably take up an hour long talking about that. But much like you, Sensei Ellis, I could put a saddle on and could get on the back. I remember, you know, when they first really came into our life for good, and then they were my responsibility. That sure opened your eyes to a lot of things. One, you don't really know what you're doing. And so, you know, we saddle the horse up, and like most people, you know, we kick them to go, we pull them to stop, we pull on the reins to the right to turn left, we pull on the reins to the left to turn left, and things like that. And you know, when you really think about it, when you think about the horse as being, you know, 900 to 1,200 pounds, depending on the horse that you're on, you know, these things are sheer muscle. And I have discovered that inside every tame horse lives a wild horse. And I've also discovered inside every wild horse resides a tame horse. As my own personal mount is a Mustang. She was born wild in Oregon in the Cold Springs herd, and she has become such an integral part of my life. The horses, when we first got them and I realized that I didn't really know maybe what I thought I knew, I decided, man, you better study. You better do some studying here and get to figuring these things out. So I did that, and I studied, and then I would try to apply, and everything just seemed to work. It's just there's just certain things sometimes that come into our life that we discover God has gifted us with something, and this was something that first, horses are a gift to humankind to start with. If you consider, the horse is a prey animal, and by a prey animal, what we mean by that is horses are a type of animal that live in the wild. They're born in their natural state is to be wild and to be born in the wild, much like a deer. So their instincts for survival are very high and very sharp because they know that they're a prey animal. Likewise, they also know that we are predators. Horses are prey animals, much like a deer, much like any other animal that you're going to find out in the woods that live like they do. They're preyed upon by out west, cougars, jaguars, perhaps a pack of coyotes with some smaller horses or something, or panthers, or whatever the case may be. They're preyed upon by those. Now then, when you consider, let me back up just a second. There, one thing that I really noticed that I liked so much when our family first got horses was the way that they smelled. I love the smell. This is going to sound crazy, but I love the smell of horse sweat. It smells so much like sweetgrass. So in considering then that the horse smells like what it eats, you have to consider we as humans, we smell like what we eat, especially to a wild beast. So then we as predators, most of us, very few of us are vegan, or very few of us are vegetarian, and even fewer are vegan. So not too many of us smell like vegetables. We smell like meat, and we look like predators. We walk upright. We have a direct fashion of movement. We have eyes on the front of our head, whereas prey animals, their eyes on the sides of their head. So then I approach a horse, and if I've just eaten a big cheeseburger for lunch, the horse said, "Oh my goodness, Mike just ate like a cow," and here he's coming to want to develop a partnership with me, which is a word that I heard you use earlier, Sensei Ellis, was partnership, and that's the exact word that I try to use in horsemanship development. But anyway, in considering all that, I consider that if I am to develop a partnership with an animal, sure, I'm a predator. Nothing I can do to change that. We just are. That's who we are. That's how God made us. That's how we live. That's how we survive. But I have to prove myself then a worthy leader to the horse, and somehow or another be able to cause that horse to respect me, but not to be afraid of me. It's like there's a certain reverence and certain fear that we have of God, but because of the blood of Jesus, we don't have to be afraid of God because we've been adopted as sons into the family of Christ. So much similar, I want that horse to feel like it is being adopted into my family, and that I can be a worthy leader to this horse. And I have to do this through the character that I present to the horse. And several years ago, I wrote a book on starting young horses under saddle. Like perhaps, well, the name of it was Getting Started Naturally, Your Colt's First Ride. So, and in that, I thought, well, what do I want the reader to take away from this? And I came up with a little slogan for that emphasizes 6 words: leadership, trust, um, um, love, knowledge, communication. So then that slogan says leadership through trust, partnership through leadership, trust, partnership, and leadership through love, understanding, and communication. So then so much of this then with the horse is all about how I communicate my character to that horse. And what's going to cause that horse to trust me is to understand the love that I have for it and the understanding that I have for it. Now, the love is pretty simple to understand. The understanding part is that I want this horse to understand that I understand horses. Okay, but then that gets into a broad range of a lot of different breeds. So you've got Arabians, you've got quarter horses, you've got Andalusians, you've got Lusitanos, you've got Tennessee walking horses, you've got Rocky Mountain horses, you've got the list goes on and on. We've got books this thick full of just different breeds, and they're all different. But we have to cause that horse to understand that that it's not one specific breed of horse. It's horses across the board that we have to develop a love and understanding for. Then we have to narrow that down to the horse that is in front of us at the time. Now I have to have an understanding of that specific horse. And when the horse understands that, then the horse and I then can develop a partnership through the communication of my character, which has to be steady and solid the whole time that I work with it. And the character that I need to have is vision. I have to have a vision for each particular horse that comes in. I may be talking to him. I probably need to slow down here and let you guys.
Oh, you're doing fine. We're just listening. It's very interesting. Yeah, please keep going.
How about you, Sensei Gulley?
No, I mean, part of the reason we do this is because we try to bring different experiences to anyone. Like for me, I'm a bona fide city boy, born and raised in Detroit. I very rarely step out of Detroit. And my only really experience with horses, I love horses. I've always admired them, but from a distance. When I say distance, I mean from on the TV watching the movies or the occasional derbies, or I always love, I think they call it the steeplechase, where they do the jumps. And so what you're saying to me, this is just like a whole new world. The simple fact, when you said horses are born in the wild, it never occurred to me that there were packs of horses. I'm always under the impression that all horses in the West or the South were part of someone's ranch. It didn't occur to me like horses, like every other animal, is just living out there. I'm like, wow, So no, by all means, this is what we're here for. Because one thing I will say though, that as I'm listening to you, everything you're saying is a direct correlation of what we're learning as martial artists. It's a direct correlation of what we're learning as Jesus. I love how you said, we're taught to respect God. We're not taught to fear him, but he can end it all. He's done it before, but we're taught to respect that and accept the fact that he's here to help us. When you walk into the dojo, your sensei, if he's good, if he's decent, if his energy is right, this man can stomp you, but you don't fear him. We don't fear our sensei. We know that this is the way that we're going to learn. And the way you said with that horse knows you're a predator, but you're trying to get him to understand that, yes, I am a predator, but I am also a partner to you. And just going across the board, because me and Vince, we talk about Christianity a lot as well, because we're both God-fearing men. Our families are, but everything, Sensei always tells us everything comes in threes. Well, the 3 topics, your vocation, your religion, and your martial arts training, that's 3 aspects of your life that are just intertwined. So,
yes, sir.
And Vince always gets on me because I use crazy words, but the dichotomy, I had to say it, Vince, the dichotomy between the equestrian and martial arts, I can see it. When I like to watch a lot of YouTube, and I'm always fascinated by when they show the Japanese martial artists doing the archery from horseback, or I look at the Mongol warriors, how they developed the style of fighting from the horseback. Even Game of Thrones, they did a special segment and they wanted to show how these so-called great riders could, fight off horseback. And you're thinking, okay, you got to train this horse to do this. You don't train the horse to do that. Just by listening, you understand that you tell the horse that, listen, this is what we're going to do. So what do you need from me so that I'll be able to get something from you? And that puts a whole new spin on everything. And, just please continue. Although one thing I would say, for those of us like me who are woefully ignorant, how do you, I'm a guy from Detroit. I come to your ranch and I say, Sensei Branch, I want to learn horses. How do you approach a complete novice that has no experience? How do you, what's the first thing you would do? How would you make someone like me competent to ride a horse? Because that's the only thing I could say is competent. How would you make someone like me with no experience? How would you do that?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really good question. And I'm glad you asked that, because believe it or not, that happens a lot here. I get so many people that come in here that want to learn about horses, or somebody might want to join an equestrian team when they go to college, and and this has happened, but yet they don't have any experience with horses, or these young kids just starting out or something like that. So what I tell people is, I teach horsemanship. I don't give pony rides, and I'm not here to stick you on the back of a horse and tell you to run around the arena on it. That is absolutely wrong from the very start. I even had new students sign up within the past year that had started horse lessons. I started to say horsemanship, but it wasn't. It was lessons on a horse, that started lessons somewhere else. One family I'm thinking of, they live an hour and 40 minutes away. And this mother and son make the drive every week. Because where they were living, they wanted to learn about horses because they just acquired a farm, and the people just stuck them right on the back of a horse, sent them out to the arena to ride around. They've got absolutely no idea what they're doing. And so they told me that it was so refreshing for what I did, because what I'm going to do, if you come here, Sensei Gulley, I'm going to introduce you to a horse. I'm going to tell you how to introduce yourself to a horse. Then we're going to go out into the arena with that horse without a saddle on that horse, with just a rope halter and a 12-foot line attached to that horse. And I'm going to teach you how to read body language. The horse gives us basically 6 signs of behavior that we can watch, that we can see on that horse, and it is true every time. I teach you how to read the ears of that horse. I teach you how to read the eyes of that horse. I teach you how to read the mouth of that horse. I teach you how to read the nose of that horse. I teach you how to read the tail of that horse and the basic overall stance of that horse. And it's all 6 of those things combined that tell you what's really going on within the mind of that horse. For instance, usually something goes awry before that horse starts bucking. Let's say that you're riding one and it spooks and he starts bucking and throws you off, or maybe you're thinking, man, no, nothing in the world happened. Simply for no reason at all, that horse started bucking. Well, there was a reason. There was a reason. We just might not have caught it, might not have seen what it was. Now, that being said, I've been bucked off many times. Many times those things happen. This is a part of horsemanship. As you're going to be involved in horses, it's not a matter of, hey, if I ever get thrown or if I ever get hurt. It's when I get thrown, when I get hurt, when something it's a matter of when. It's going to happen. So it's like you walk into a dojo. You know, we want to learn martial arts, but don't twist my arm, don't hurt me. You know, well, you know,
You don't want to learn.
yeah, you just need to go watch TV because something's going to happen because we fight.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we try our best to control it, but we're going to practice self-defense situations. And I don't think that if we practice in slow motion all the time, I do believe in that, practicing slow motion. And, you know, I practice kata, for instance, 3, 4 different ways, different speeds, different flows, because I believe also you have to have that because your body mechanics and your muscle memory is going to retain so much out of slow, concentrated practice. And that's why I'm going to have you to start with that horse. Once I've taught you how to read the body language of that horse, I'm also going to teach you the footfall of the horse. For instance, how the horse walks. You know, every horse out there walks with a 4-beat rhythm, 4-beat gait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And what most people don't know, or a lot of people don't understand, is that which foot moves first depends on the next foot that moves. For instance, on the horse, if the front left moves first, the right hind's going to move second. If the left rear foot moves first, the left front's going to move second. So it all depends, and I need to teach you that footfall because it's going to become very important later as we go down the road. It's kind of like, you know, there's things we have to learn as a white belt. You know, we have to go in, we have to learn our basics. We have to learn the Kihon. We have to learn the charts. And then when Sensei feels like we've learned those basic things and can do them properly for the level that we're at, then they start adding kata in there. And I view much of what we do with the horse as kata. In fact, I've been very tempted to make a video of me perhaps doing part of a martial arts kata and then transferring that over to doing basic groundwork on a horse and then getting on the horse and actually riding that horse to show that everything applies, that it all has its place. So then once I've taught you how to read the body language of the horse, and I'm going to teach you footfall of the horse, I'm going to teach you how to use that line that's on the halter of the horse to biomechanically speak to the different parts of that horse to create certain movements.
Could you tell me what's a halter of a horse? I'm not familiar with the terminology. What part is the halter?
Okay, yeah, that's good. The halter is a little piece that goes over its head. You know,
Oh, that's
like
part of the saddle.
No.
Saddle goes on its back.
Okay. Also, that's part of that. Oh, like the leather strap that I see. So that's not a
Minus
part
the
of his
bit.
body. That's something that you're putting on him.
Yeah, minus the bit. A halter doesn't have a bit. Bridle has a
Okay.
bit, but a halter
Okay.
helps you control the head. I'm sorry,
Okay.
Sensei. I'm getting
No, that's
All right.
no, that's
Thank
good.
you.
Great.
Yeah, I
Great.
want to have a clear picture of what, because I'm like halter. I'm thinking halter tops. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what he's talking about. Okay. All right, please continue.
Yeah. Yeah. Oftentimes these halters are made of leather or whatever. What I use is real small rope. It's actually kayak cord, and we've got a piece that's made to go around the horse's head that will contain the horse's head. And then I use a heavy line to attach to that. Usually I attach it in like a double sheets bin knot on there. And the line that I use is not a little lightweight cotton rope that comes from Farmers Co-op. I use yachting braid. It's a ship rope from off of the ship, because they're heavier and they're actually a rope inside of a rope, so it has life to it. So that if I send a loop, you know how like you can throw your hand out there with you got a rope attached to it and you can send a loop down, you know. So this type of rope really works like that, really, really super well. Whereas cotton, oftentimes you do that and you get a couple of loops go down, and then it just dies.
That's it.
So we don't need it to be dead. We need follow through on that is a good word, which I recently wrote an article for the International Ishinru Karate Association on follow through. And this follow through, I've got to have that in horsemanship. We've got to have that in our martial arts as well. So let's say, for instance, I'm standing in front of my horse, and I might want it to, like, if this is the back legs, I might want to tell those back legs just to cross each other like that. How am I going to do that? It's simple through body mechanics. I just put a little bit of weight on that head, and I know that the angle and direction of the weight that I apply to that, this is where a person's weight is the same as the person's balance. Yeah. So I lift that, and now I consider the biomechanics of the horse. If I tilt that horse's head slightly to the left, and I put a little pressure just from my eyes or my ki here, we can bring our ki up from our core and extend it through our eyes. And as I look in there, and then I can put myself in more of a predatorial position, and that horse is just like that, just moves right away. Many, many other things I would teach you to do on your groundwork with that, because when the day comes that, and it probably wouldn't be for several weeks before I said, okay, you can ride the horse now. And you'd be like, oh, wow, really? That's what I've been waiting for. That's what I came here for. Well, then at that point, you will see why I taught you all this groundwork. It's so that we get a basic understanding of the biomechanics of the horse. So then when we sit on the back of the horse, in time, you're going to learn, again, 6 other major words that'll be used: rein, seat, and leg position. All of this is going to directly apply to how the biomechanics of the horse works. And then as you become familiar with the body of the horse and how it moves and how it responds, then will come 3 other words: feel, timing, and balance. So once all that's understood, and then we combine feel, timing, and balance with rein, seat, and leg position, we can virtually put that horse's feet in any position at any given time. So that's how you can tell a good horseman. If they can keep their hands out here in front of them like this and just barely use, oftentimes I'm just barely tickling my reins like this, but I have a feel on that horse's head. And then my seat underneath me and my legs, as they change, that causes proprioceptive changes from my body, which redistributes weight. And that horse who desires to be in perfect balance moves accordingly to get in balance with that. Then with that, our desire is to be able to cause that horse to move forward, laterally, backwards, whatever, without what we talked about earlier: kick them to go, pull them to stop, jerk on the right rein to turn. We don't want to do that. Basically the body of that horse becomes my body when I'm riding. I'm just like, I desire to be like just a brain telling that horse where to go. Whenever that happens, then we're flowing together as one. We have a real flow of energy, and all that, it can only happen then once we have an understanding of the biomechanics of the horse and develop feel, timing, and balance with understanding of our rein, seat, and leg position. So when it comes down to it, though, really, I suppose all 6 of those words that we have to use, it all comes down to feel. You got to understand your rein properly, you have to feel. To understand your seat properly, you have to feel. To understand your legs properly and how to use them with the horse, we have to feel. To understand balance, we have to have feel. To develop timing, we have to have feel. So every bit of it has to do with feel. Now, what in this analogy then have I just described kata?
Absolutely.
Also describe the basic, the basics for a fight. When you first step in the dojo, you're learning basics, you're learning different things. Sensei's not going to set you on the mat and says, okay, go fight this person. It's going to be several weeks, months, depending, before you do that. And it's a direct correlation. Like even now, the more we learn, the more subtler we get. One of the things Sensei's really he's working with us now, with the higher ranks is he's working us on finding our balance point, and he's also working on us on feeling your stance. He says it's easy to get in the stance. He says, but he says I can look at you and tell if you are seated in your stance just by the way your head's cocked, the way your elbow drops, so the exact things that you're explaining is the exact things that we have to be able to do in martial arts if we want to be effective. If I want to be an effective fighter, I want to be an effective kata man. If I want to just use my balance to do anything, I've got to be able to feel my way around. I've got to be able to line myself up, use my senses to understand my environment. If I'm in a situation, I'm going to lead my opponent. I was watching some street fights with my kids the other evening, and they were saying how this one guy's just like, he said, he just got this guy out of nowhere. I said, no, if you look at him and you watch him, you'll notice the guy's testing him, and everything he does, this guy's arm is down. So he saw that. So he leads him, he leads him, he leads him. My son's arm. So he leads them.
Somebody would bring me a coffee. The cup's empty.
If I could hand it through the screen, I'd hand my teeth through you. But you do that. If you want to hit that person on the right side, if you want to hit him on the right side, you show him something on his left, so he'll defend on his left. The same way you say, if you want that horse to move, you barely twitch, and it doesn't have to be a gross movement. If I twitch to the side, person naturally going to reflect over, so I know I can send that out there. So what I also found fascinating when I was reading your article, everything you were saying is how at each point, when you made a point about what you did with the horse, you brought the principles of Ishinru into it. At each point, you say your certain movements. Well, it is about the manner of movements, either drinking or spitting, hard or soft, with the balance. When the horse is moving a certain way and you're wondering what's about to happen, he's okay, this is going to happen. The opportunity to present itself to, it is such a direct correlation, equestrian and martial arts, because we always say how martial arts was, in any part of our lives. Vince is an engineer, I'm a line worker, and we talk about how, I use my balance to build the truck. Vince uses his patience and everything, but you're using basic combat skills and not as combat. What you're doing is you're using everything in the exact same way. And to me, that just shows, again, the benefits of martial arts. It shows how it's, as Vince as often says, martial arts are the framework from which we hang our life upon. And it's just, because I'm gonna tell you right now, you've got me thinking that I'm very clumsy. I'm the guy who will get on the mat, move like sweet lightning, then get off the mat, trip, and break his foot on the side of the mat.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking I could actually learn how to ride a horse, because you've taken the fear out of that. Now that when I'm listening to, I'm like, okay, but that makes more sense. Because in my mind, I'm thinking I'm gonna go to some place and bring this big majestic beast out, and I'm gonna be like, and do what? Now I see it's like, no, it's not gonna be that at all. And that's like, wow. So,
Yeah. The horse has so much to teach us about being soft and just allowing your energy and your ki to flow. Mm-hmm. As you said, a ginormous beast. We had one lady contacted me a few years ago about they had acquired a big horse, and you couldn't touch its feet. Now, when I say big, this horse was big. This horse was 18 hands and 18 and a half hands. So it's like over 6 feet tall to its back, just to its back, over 6 feet tall. And they could not pick its feet up. We have to pick their feet up. We have to clean them out, and they have to be taken care of, because without living in the wild, they don't have anything to naturally keep them wore down. This horse was striking at them and so on and so forth when you try to pick the feet up. So she's now with my students, but she contacted me for this big, huge horse. And I mean, this was a big horse. I wish I knew how to put pictures on here with us. I could give you an idea of this. It's funny on my Facebook thing.
Was it a draft style horse? Was it a
Yes, it
working
was.
class horse? Okay. So like a Clydesdale. I mean, you're talking like, Budweiser, like big working horse. Yeah.
That type of horse, yeah. So Sensei Ellis, how much those horses weigh. The muscle power.
They're just muscle. Yeah, that's correct.
It was a Percheron, but basically.
Okay, yeah. So
same-
Percheron, yeah. Same family, just different lineage.
Yes, yeah. And aptly named, his name was Hector. Very fitting name for him. But, and to think that once I caused that horse to accept me and understand me and surrender to me, which is a whole lesson in itself, I would probably rather give you a demonstration than tell you what I did, because you'd think, man, that branch guy's crazy. But I caused the little fella to understand me, and he gave me his food. Well, when you think about it, because it's big and muscular and powerful. Now this horse could kill you in a heartbeat, and that's something you need to understand, that most of these horses, a 900-pound horse could kill you. Yeah, I mean, literally, people die on these things. But if when they feel that you understand, we can just lightly, as I said, with just our seat and legs and just light fingertips, can manipulate that horse's body, because we're directly communicating with biomechanics and operating our reins, which are directly connected to the head, then our seat connected to their back, and then our legs wrapped around their body, and they feel this, and everything just happens so softly and smooth. It's phenomenal. So you guys just need to come down to the ranch. Maybe we just do a Facebook Live or something when they talk about some of this.
Yeah, we may try to set that up. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna ask you a question. One thing also too, I was reading your articles, and I love the fact that you talk about the flow of energy, how you learn to relax with the energy. Energy comes in so many forms. There's nice energy, there's dynamic energy, there's relaxed energy. Do you think you would be as an effective an equestrian if you didn't have the foundation of how to control your ki, how to breathe? Do you think your martial arts training has made you more effective? I don't want to say more, because I don't want to sound like I'm putting you against other equestrians. But do you feel that one of the reasons you are able to look at the little fella that's probably, I'm thinking if his back is 6 feet, then his head has got to be 8.5 to 9 feet off the ground.
Oh yeah, that horse is way up there.
I mean, do you feel that your martial arts has somehow given you an advantage? I'll say it that way, giving you an advantage over other equestrians or horse enthusiasts in general, because you understand the basis of what energy flow is and the basis of synergy between action and non-action. Do you feel that, when you came into it, when horses were on your mind, when you started it, did you immediately see, oh yeah, my training is going to really benefit me in this? Did you immediately see that, or is that something you kind of discovered as you worked?
Okay, yeah. In all honesty, it was a discovery. It was a discovery, but also yes. To answer the question, I feel like it has certainly helped me to be effective in what I do. I think that it has certainly helped me to have the success that I've had. It has been a thing that, it's so funny that things come into our life for different reasons at different times. 1978, I was living in town in an apartment. Back when I started in martial arts. So, I didn't know, hey, okay, I'm gonna study martial arts. I'm gonna get real good at it and become a horse trainer.
Right.
Okay. Okay, great. How's that work? You know, so you know, I, I think both of these things are gifts from God.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm certainly not saying I'm gifted. I'm saying they are gifts from God.
Mhm.
Because when we think about it, um, um, horses should not even really be a part of our life
Yeah.
because next time you see a deer, walk out in the field and put a halter on it. It ain't gonna happen. So
It's
this
not
this
coming.
is a prey animal that, and you know, or you know, horse, you know, go out in the desert of Nevada, and spot you a herd of wild horses, maybe about a mile away from you. See how close you can get to
Not at all.
them. No, no, it won't happen because we're not supposed to have we're not supposed to have that relationship. Um,
You know,
okay.
just hearing what you say there, Sensei Branch, has really got my mind going in a direction that oftentimes these conversations take us. But, given our modern society, 2021, where our country is going, is thinking about what you're saying, the relationship between a man and a horse, the predator and the prey, and even in our martial arts training, it doesn't seem like society in general has things almost flip-flop now. We've got these extremes on the right and the left, but we've mentioned deer. I'm an avid hunter. I like to hunt. I am a predator. I kill and consume the protein of wild animals. But at the same time, I make sure that I provide for those animals. The funds that I put into the state wildlife agencies provide habitat, protection, and the means to sustain that renewable resource. Uh, as a equestrian or a horseman, or even here on the farm, we have horses, we have cattle, we have some pigs. We take care of those. They're going to in turn take care of us, whether it's through sustenance or, grazing the land, replenishing nutrients to the land through their waste. There's a cycle. There's a cycle to life that God has created. It's just everything depends on one another to go at its natural way. And in the same sense, those who know violence appreciate peace all the more. A lot of people look at us as martial artists and think we have a bullish attitude, or maybe we're bullies. It's all about the striking and hitting or choking or whatever, the physical attributes of what we do. When in actuality, it's the yin and the yang, you know, of life. Without understanding the darkness, you can't appreciate the light. And it's just interesting to me that there's so many people that are around us in daily life that want to almost just pretend like if you didn't have that in the world, that the world would be better. Like those people who would say that riding horses is cruel, that to break that animal's will and cause him to surrender. And there's people out there who approach it in that manner. I mean, there's going to be people who do bad things. There's bad people and there's evil in the world. And I've known people that will take a horse and literally break its will. And that horse is not the same, never the same. And it's not, there's no symbiotic relationship there. It is a master slave type relationship. Much like a dog. We've seen dogs that react that way when they're not treated correctly. But it's the same way with humanity, that, the samurai exemplified that, right? They were they were warriors to the highest level, but then they also studied art, culture, poetry. You know, you have to broaden yourself, and it's through the understanding. And I'm by no means a soldier. You know, I don't want to take anything from anybody who's in the military, but I think when you look at those people who have experienced war and true combat, they appreciate life all the more. But I think it's so important that we, as martial artists, you know, we try to experience both aspects and exemplify, or, you know, put out there the best we can. Master Woods, you know, one of our teachers back in the day would always say, be a mirror. You know, if you're good to me, I'm going to be as good to you as I can possibly be. You're going to get the best of me. When you choose to bring violence against me, I'm going to flip that switch, and you're going to get the absolute worst I have to offer. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, the Bible teaches us, do unto others as you would have them do unto you, right? Not as they do unto you. So you're always going to get my best efforts first. I'm going to come to you like the kata teaches us, you know, peace first, right? And then war. I'm always prepared for the worst. But it just, you know, I think our society lacks people who understand the value of strife. We've had it too good for too long. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the predator that you are, and you're hunting and so forth. And I wanted to ask Sensei Gulley if he considered himself the same. I don't know if you got any wild deer running around Detroit, but do you hunt?
Me personally, I do not hunt. My family, a lot of members of my family hunt. I've never, I don't like hunting. There are a lot of deers in our area, our Southfield area, Oak Park, where I am. There are a lot of deers. It's hilarious. Society is encroaching on the wildlands, and so it's
Yeah.
pushing a lot of animals into the city. We've got a proliferation of deer now, possums, raccoons, everything. I do not hunt, but I am a predator in the sense that when I train, one of the things I talk about with my kids when I'm training them, I train to survive. I perceive anything as I'm training to eliminate threats. If I'm going up against a person, I don't see that person. I see the threat that person presents. So it can't be personal. If an animal poses a threat to me, I will not hesitate to kill it. But I don't see the need to go out and kill it. I do not disagree with hunting. I feel if you're a hunter, hunting is a necessary part of life. I like chicken. I like hamburgers. So
There you
hunting,
go.
you got to do that. It's just
Yeah.
that me personally, you know, I've had you know, times there was a squirrel got in the house. I couldn't get it out the house. I knew I had to kill it. You know, with my training, I knew where to. I actually killed it with my sword. I knew where to strike to get the heart to give it as
I
pain as
wish
that
we could
possible.
have that on video.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But
Good.
I felt regret that I had to end his life. But on the other hand, I knew I had to protect my family. So in the sense that I won't say I'm a hunter, I am a predator in the sense that I will do what I have to do to survive and protect my own. But I do not hunt as a sport. But I
Wonderful.
don't
Yeah,
hold it
yeah.
against people who do hunt. I totally understand the need, and I totally understand. Sometimes you just want to kill something. There's a lot of people that, you know, if Sensei hadn't really taught me discipline, brother, you would be 6 feet under right now. But I think one of the things that Vince mentioned out is because we train so hard, because I work that makiwara, because I focus on those dimes, because I discover the energy within you, because I know how easily it is for me to take your life, it makes me a lot less willing to take your life. You know, I don't want to go there with you. You know, it's sort of like if you look back in Greek history, mythology, one of the things that Homer describes in the Iliad, Achilles' shield, has got a peaceful scene on it. Now, Achilles is considered one of the greatest warriors of history, but his shield had fields and farmers. Why is that? Because he wanted peace. But in order to get peace, what did he have to do? He had to kill for it. You had to be a warrior. I know that sometimes in order for me to have peace, I'm going to have to bring violence, extreme violence. And I think that martial arts really shows us that. And one of the things, this my mind flipped over, I wish that there was an equestrian style course for automobiles, because you thinking about this, you're teaching people how to interact with with these wonderful, powerful animals. If we could teach people how to interact with a car, because it's really, when you think about it, a car is a mechanical thing, but it's still a living thing. Because if you twitch that, if your finger twitches that wheel, it's going to go this way. If you slam on that brake too hard, it's going to do, if we get some kind of way, get an equestrian style training, so that, okay, this is an automobile, consider this an extension of you. If you do this, this will happen. You've got to establish that rapport. I think the, the drivers would be a whole lot better. The roads would be a whole lot safer. And I'm just saying, I say that to say that there's so many ways that any skill that you have can intersect in other parts of your life. Anyone listening to this, Sensei Branch is really giving the basis on equestrian training. But you can take anything he just said and apply it to any situation. If you've got a bullheaded student in your class, you understand and you feel and you look at that student's ears, how's he moving his ears, how's his eyes twitching, how is he breathing, you can kind of say, well, he's a little agitated, he's a little this, maybe I could do this to calm him down, let me show him my energy in a non-threatening way. And to me, that's what's so fascinating about all disciplines of life is the energy that's in it. You talk about that in one of your articles. There's an energy to everything. In the Book of Five Rings, you learn the spirit of the thing itself. That's the most important. If you master the spirit of the thing itself, then you can master yourself and everything around you. I think that if we could some kind of way teach people or encourage people to, it doesn't have to be martial arts. It doesn't have to be anything. You could be ballet, it could be carpentry, you could become an equestrian, but start looking for the energy, the spirit of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. And not only will you involve yourself, and it will take some of that anxiety, it will take some of that need for us to do whatever, you can learn how to help people. Like Vince said, the world is cushy. These kids, they're spoiled, they feel entitled. The rich think they're supposed to quash the poor. This race thinks they're supposed to dominate that race. This race wants to make this race punish. I want to punish you for something your ancestors did 300 years. Learn the spirit of what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and you will see that it's all connected. It's all connected. Our spirit influenced you to get up, walk through the house, and grab your coffee cup. Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, it did. I'm like, man, they're drinking coffee, and I don't have any.
But it's just an act. One of the things, like when Sensei Ellis, we started this, is because we wanted to just bring different aspects of martial arts, different aspects. People always say martial arts is about life. It's 90% mental. But only thing we ever equated with is the punching and the kicking. We want people to see that, no, if you step into a dojo, your life will change for the simple fact that you're going to learn, most and foremost, you're going to learn about yourself. You're going to learn about your spirit. Now, once you have your spirit, you can step into any aspect of life. Your spirit and your inner knowledge has allowed you to become a success with teaching others how to tame and become partners with some of the most magnificent creatures on earth. Okay. People say, we shouldn't really coexist with horses. I think that, in my opinion, I think that's part of God's plan. Humans need help. We're inherently weak. We're weak when we just are. We needed something to help us. Horses are transportation. They became our survival depended on horses. So it's a synergy there. I think that it was part of that divine plan that, just same thing with dogs. Now, snakes, we don't need to be coexisting with snakes.
No.
When you look at, we have dogs as pets.
With that, we've you mentioned race there a little while ago. Vincent mentioned politics a little while ago, and one thing I feel it pertinent to say is, as I look out my window here at, there's a herd of 11 horses out here in my front. And in that herd, I probably have both Democrats and Republicans. But what I want to say is I have a Mustang. I have American quarter horse. I have American paint horse. I have walking horse. I have spotted saddle horse. I have saddlebreds. I have a horse out here that we don't know. He's just a mutt, just a mixed breed of anything. But you know, that horse kept this horse in line for many, many years. Oftentimes when people come here, the horse they are drawn to, of all those breeds that I just mentioned to you, the horse that seemed to draw more people in is Moonbeam. He's our just mixed breed. So to me, and all of these horses, which are all different colors out here too. I got a buckskin horse. I got one that's black and white. I got a brown and white. I got black horses. The big Hector that we trained was a gray horse. Got sorrel horses. But these guys are out here living as a family, as a herd. I mean, there is a government. There is a government in their structure. Every social society has to have a government. But now it doesn't matter to them who, I don't know if I should say this, it doesn't matter to them who's leading, as long as they know, and no, this is good, because it doesn't matter to them who's leading their society, as long as they know that that's the one that's going to take care of them. Right. That's the one they can put their trust in, and that's the one that can keep the social order where it needs to be. Now, one of the reasons I asked the hunting question a little while ago, but you kind of answered my question too in that when you said that you like chicken, and then something else you mentioned, I don't know, steaks or hamburgers or something like that. But you don't hunt. Vince goes out and hunts. Who's the better predator? Somebody's going out there, or who's the smarter predator? Somebody's going out there working, and somebody's paying somebody else to go kill for them.
Exactly.
Ooh.
You work for me, Vince. You feed me, Vince.
That's, you get to thinking about that, man. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. But I think that there's so many lessons if we observe this great gift that God's given us in horses. If we would just stop for a minute and consider their society, and those of us that desire to be horsemen and women, or have a passion, even if we can't actually live in that, if we could just take that lesson and apply it to our life, this world would be a better place, a much better place.
One thing I want to make sure, I'm sorry, but one thing I want to make sure we explore during this conversation, Sensei Branch has mentioned a few times that, everybody's gifted with certain attributes and talents. So first and foremost, I think what every individual needs to do is, find out what your gifts and talents are, for sure. But gifts and talents aren't enough. So one thing I really want to hear Sensei Branch talk about is his quest of 10,000.
Oh, goodness. Did I send you that article?
No, you didn't, but I follow you on social media, and I know you. We've been around tournaments and things together before, so I'm aware of how much work you put in, and I would like you to share that, if you would please, with everybody else.
Sure. And that came about, I don't know if the right word is by accident or what, but I became a black belt back in 1988. I was training at Master Alan Wheeler's dojo, where I met my now sensei, Mark Aycock, who he and I wait, what happened there?
I think you flipped off your camera. It says, I got a signal. It says your bandwidth
There
is
he
low.
is.
Yeah.
We're back.
We're
There
back.
we go. There we go. Okay. So shortly after arriving at Master Wheeler's dojo, I became introduced to Mark Aycock, and we did some training together at Master Wheeler's. And in time, I started teaching a little Monday night or Monday evening class with Sensei Aycock. And then over time, through these vicissitudes that are just bound to happen in life, the changes that happen, Mark moved on and I moved on, and I stayed at Wheeler's for a while and received another promotion there under Master Wheeler. And I never as a black belt competed in a tournament. Whether maybe part of it was confidence in myself or work related or both. Because back then I had to work on Saturdays. So, and they're not holding karate tournaments on Wednesday morning or Thursday afternoon.
Right.
So not the opportunity for that. And one day, one of my friends and person that helped me out a lot here on the ranch, I have to give a shout out to Mr. Tommy Honeycutt. He asked me, I was 59, and it was in like 6 months I was going to be turning 60. And he's like, Mike, you got any plans for turning 60? I thought about it for a second. I didn't really, but I said, yeah, I sure do. I want to enter a karate tournament. I've never competed as a black belt. Coming up in Mississippi, tournaments were kind of sparse, and they were sparse in the 70s. But man, they made an all-day thing out of it back then. You had all your stuff during the day, but then nobody really won until that night. They had all the finals. You had to kind of hang around all afternoon and then go to the finals that night. But it was cool because there was demos and all that stuff. So it really, man, it stretched into a day, a real trip. So I did compete a few times as an underbelt. Never won a trophy until I was a brown belt. But no, I lied. I won an AAU tournament in Greenville, Mississippi. I got a first place trophy there. Then as a brown belt, I won a third place trophy in kata out at Clinton or Anderson County High School in Clinton, Tennessee. You know where that's at, Vincent?
Yes, sir. Right across from where I work now, actually, the new school.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. So I thought, okay, now how am I going to win a karate, or how am I even going to compete? So I called Mark Aycock, and which he and I, the Lord had put us back together about maybe a year before that. And I'm like, well, I know who to call. I know to call Mark Aycock, because I remember back when he and I were training, he was winning everything. And so he and I got hooked up back together and started training. And I decided that I would train Shinto Kata. And one day, Sensei Aycock asked me, he said, wow, after watching my performance, he said, how many times do you think you've done that kata? I said, well, I don't know, but I average about 10 runs a day on it. And so I went home and added that up. I said, oh man, I've already got like 2,100 runs on kata since I started practicing this. And so I decided I'd just start counting them after that with the goal of 10,000 to be, as I had read something, whether it was horsemanship or martial arts related, I do not remember, but they're pretty much the same anyway. But the little thing that I read went something similar, and I can't quote it exactly, but it went something similar to a student one day in eagerness to show his instructor a technique or practice that he had been working on very hard, came to his instructor and said, I really want you to watch this. So he did his little performance, whatever it was, I don't remember, horses or karate. So proud of himself after he finished that, he looked at his instructor and he said, man, I bet I've done this 1,000 times. And much to his chagrin, his instructor said, why have you not done it 10,000 times? Then I realized then, I'm like, and another equestrian, a friend of mine in Murfreesboro, Tennessee, he and I had talked about that once, and he's like, yeah, it probably takes about 1,000 repetitions to become proficient with something, but it probably would take 10,000 times to master something. So I set out on this course, this journey of 10,000, and I've not mastered anything yet.
When you think about it, do any of us ever master anything? When you think about it, I talk about Sensei with that all the time, and he says every day I got to do my basics as I'm still learning. This is Hanshi Willie Adams, one of the premier martial artists in the issue. We're in the karate world, period. And he will be the first to tell you. He says, no, you didn't master it yet. You got to keep doing it. Every time you're doing it, you're going to learn something new. And I think that's one of the benefits of martial artists. I'm sure that every time you get on a horse, you learn something a little bit different. Like, okay. And that's just the beauty of life, man.
Every day.
Yeah.
Yes, it is. And I got to spend some time with a gentleman, which the viewers can look this up, who was a graduate of the Spanish School of Riding. That's in Vienna, Austria. They're the ones that it's a real famous Lipizzaner school. I mean, these horses almost look like Pegasus when they work with them. But this gentleman was a graduate of that school, which, to my understanding, you got to be at that school for 2 years before you even get to ride a horse. So it's pretty strict regime. He also coached Great Britain's Olympic equestrian team 4 consecutive times, winning gold in Rome, I believe it was. But on that thought of mastery, he said to me one day, he said, I take no stock in a man that calls himself an expert, because an X is a has-been and a spurt is a drip from a water spout. So with that, I'm like, man, boy, that is profound. That is really profound. So I think about that often, and I try not to ever use those type terms like somebody has referred to me as a horse whisperer, and somebody referred to me as a master horseman, and I would not even dream of putting that out there for myself, because like you said, Sensei Gulley, I still am learning every day. If we wore belts down here to train in, the only way I would have a black belt would be because it was dirty. Because these horses humble you really quick, many times. So I feel like we should walk in a spirit of humility. That certainly does not mean in self degrading ourselves or nothing. I think we should have a high respect for ourselves. Like the old song says, if you don't respect yourself, how do you think anyone's supposed to respect you? But I certainly do not feel that I have arrived.
I don't think any of us have. And in the spirits of humility that we try to cam, I like to keep we like to keep track of the time. We're approaching the 1 hour 20 minute mark, which we don't want our listeners to
Right.
get sick of the listening to us. So I think that your words on humility is the perfect way for us to sort of segue out, because in all truth and honesty, we as martial artists, we as Christians, one of the things we really want to strive for is to be humble in all things we do. We want to be great in our actions, but we don't want to be great in our egos. You know, we want, Sensei always tells us, we should be a different breed. You know, as Christians, we should be viewed as a different breed. When people look at you, they should see something, not because you're saying it, but because they feel it. And one of the things I have to mention for those of us, now some people will watch the YouTube video, most of us are going to hear the podcast. Sensei Branch is wearing the coolest hat that, I mean, it's a white cowboy hat. When you think Long Ranger, you just think the hero of every Western you've ever seen. And then you got this image of Sensei Branch. So, sir, I want to say that this hat is amazing. I had to put that in
Thanks.
there.
I
The whole
I
it's
just
it's
grabbed
just
it from the hat rack there. I'm like, man, I need to put a hat on because my hair is a mess.
but
So thank you for that.
yeah, but in general, Sensei, we're gonna and we're gonna put a link in here so that if anyone can look up your horse ranch if they're interested in learning true horsemanship, which I believe you would provide, they'll be able to do so. And for myself, I just want to say thank you so much, because I've just got a profound education in horsemanship, but I've also again got a profound affirmation of how martial arts truly is the most beneficial thing that a person could do. You couple your martial arts with your faith in God and your faith in humanity to be better, and there's nothing you can't accomplish. And I'm going to quote one thing before I turn it over to Sensei Ellis to take us out. I'm going to paraphrase it. In one of your articles, I found it fascinating. You said a horse is, and please, I know I'm saying it wrong, is the manifestation of the inner wings of a person. And I thought that was just great, because when you're on that horse, it's like your spirit is free to ride. Sensei always says that our martial arts is a manifestation of our inner dragons, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's just a wonderful, wonderful way to look at that. And are there any final words you'd like to, before I turn it over to Vince, Sensei Branch, anything you want to give to the listeners out there, something more, little pieces of advice that you can help us out with, or your thoughts on anything?
Well, thank you for that. Certainly want to thank you, Sensei Gulley, and Sensei Ellis for asking me to be on here this morning. And there's many, many people that have been a part of my life that have helped to get me where I'm at. And my wife Lisa is very supportive of what I do. My kids, from Mike to Isaac to Alyssa, and I've got two step kids, Greg and Eric. But everything that's poured into your life makes you a part of who you are and the final product. So I appreciate all these people, and I have so many people in the martial arts. And I know if I started now, I'm not going to on purpose, because I know if I do, I will leave somebody out, and I don't want to do that. But if you and I have crossed paths anywhere, then just know and understand that you're a part of my makeup and a part of who I am, and I appreciate you for that. So my final words would be, trust Jesus in everything you do, and you'll be all right.
Sensei Ellis, you want to take us home?
I want to thank you, Sensei Branch, for being here with us and sharing all your thoughts and just your story, what you do. It's amazing. It's a hard thing to convey, whether by video or verbally, what it is to be on or around a horse. If you've never experienced the power and energy of a living creature that's 3-4 times your size, you know, one-on-one. It's, if you're not humbled by that, you know, there's really something wrong in your head, probably, or wrong in your spirit. They are truly an amazing creature. And, you know, I feel myself lucky to have had the experiences that I've had in my life with horses, to have that a part of my life, even though it's on a very amateur basis. But just hearing Sensei Branch talk about that, and knowing from my own personal experience, the size, the energy, and everything, it's just another way to look at the conflicts of life. When you look at the energy and size and how easily it would be for a horse to do damage. I've been hurt by horses. I've been hurt bad, not by their mistakes, more by mine, and not by their malice. I had my sternum broken one time from a bad fall, not by malice of the horse, but kind of like what you described in one of your articles, where the horse stumbled, and through my own ignorance, you know, I ended up going over the horse's head, and the horse just ran over me. Then he stopped. It was over. He didn't do it. It's just what happened. And, you know, got right back on him and continued on in a very sore ride to the house. But, you know, and there again, it's like the martial arts. It's difficult to convey to people what it's like to be in a heated sparring match. You know, the adrenaline that you feel, or the angst, you know, that you feel, and, you know, all of the different components of what goes on, or even the atmosphere in a dojo. It's so different. But those experiences elevate what goes on outside the dojo or off the horse's back in your everyday life. You're able to carry that knowledge, that experience, and a lot of it has to do with conflict resolution and how you interact with people on a daily basis, because you've been in a group, you've involved yourself in something greater than that, and you know how to deal with the mundane or slightly less than mundane. And, you know, this is martial arts centric, but at the same time, you know, there's so many things that allow us to do that if you allow yourself to think of it in a broader sense. You know, a lot of people, being as this is somewhat equestrian, we use the terminology blinders, you know, to talk about life. That's kind of an equestrian term. Blinders are often used on a horse's bridle in a working situation to keep them focused forward so they're not distracted, right? Typically in plow horses, you want them looking straight forward so you get a straight line. You really can't live your life with blinders on, hopefully. You need to understand the peripheral and bring all your experiences to the forefront. And again, I just want to thank Sensei Branch for sharing that with us. And we look forward to seeing you on the trail or at the tournament, sir. I'm gonna make an effort to get down there. I definitely want to get the opportunity to ride with you and you know, maybe take in some of that knowledge, because I'm definitely a novice. You know, I can put a saddle on, put a bridle on, get on a horse's back and get from point A to B, but I would in no way consider myself a horseman either. You know, you were talking about
Come on down.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, we're not that far apart, and you know we've got automobiles, Sensei Gulley. It wouldn't take you that long to drive down here. Hey, we'll just make a nice Saturday out of it.
Definitely. We've got a lot of people to visit. As soon as this COVID lifts and everyone can move freely, we've got so many places that we've been fortunate to meet so many wonderful martial artists. I definitely got to get down to visit Soki Akak. We've definitely got to get down. My boys would enjoy, they would enjoy anything to do with horses. You know, I don't know if I could get them on it, but I think once they came and had an experience with you teaching them, and my oldest twin, he would love you anyway, because his collection of guitars kind of resembles yours, because he's a musician as well. So that in itself would be, but like Ellis said, you know, you've brought so much to the table today, and I'm hoping soon that we get some kind of way to get down there, because I would love to learn from you. If I never get on a horse, just to be able to say that, hey, I kind of understand, look a horse in the eye and say, I kind of understand you a little bit, buddy. That would be a great privilege for me.
There you go. Excellent.
With that, we just want to thank everybody who is tuning in and listening to our channel. And we look forward to seeing y'all next time. Thank you. Have a blessed day.